What's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners. Big day for the NFL because players were finally able to pad up and start hitting each other a little bit. And while that's a big day for the NFL and for us, because it means we're progressing even closer to getting an NFL season, which is excellent news, it means that some things can happen, which includes injuries. And we've had a few injuries today. We also have some other notes and updates as well. So as always here on the Fantasy Headliners, we like to keep you up to date on all the information happening in the NFL and how it could possibly affect you and your fantasy football team. So I'm going to talk about some of the updates that we've had from today and how that could affect you moving forward. And the first guy that we're going to talk about is one that really needed to get through training camp healthy, and he's already dealing with problems. That is AJ Green from the Cincinnati Bengals. He ended up coming off the field today for quite a while with an apparent hamstring injury. So that's what it is right now. They said he sat out of a lot of 11 on 11. He just sat on the sideline. He looked to be all right, but he was doing a lot of stretching. Had the trainers come over and try to help him out. Didn't end up putting any ice on it. So something we really need to keep an eye at moving forward. How is that hamstring doing? There's going to be a lot of soft tissue injuries right now because, these guys are trying to ramp up after not having a whole lot of off-season programs, and we're going to see this happening. So just keep an eye on it. But what does this mean for you? Well, number one, I've mentioned him a few times. I mentioned him a while back on kind of a deep sleepers, underrated guys to possibly target episode, and that's John Ross, especially in best ball leagues. He's going to be the guy that really is the deep threat. If AJ Green ends up missing more time again, then John Ross is going to be a guy who's going to be on one of those outside positions with either T. Higgins out there. They might do Tyler Boyd out there. They might switch those guys in and out of the slot a little bit. They can move some guys around, but keep an eye on John Ross. If you're doing any best ball leagues anytime soon, he is a guy to pick up and have. Tyler Boyd, if AJ Green misses any time, Tyler Boyd for me is going to be a reliable wide receiver too with upside. So he's definitely a guy in your drafts that you can really get right now as kind of a wide receiver 4 in that range. So keep an eye on that. He is a guy that you might want to grab. He could end up having some upside, even though right now he'd probably be a safe flex position at worst with AJ Green. More opportunity for T. Higgins, a rookie that a lot of people like. An opportunity for him to get on the field, be used a lot more often, so that's big for him. And then, of course, for our boy Joe Mixon, it could possibly lead to more opportunities in the passing game for him as well. So keeping an eye on AJ Green and that hamstring and what it could end up meaning for these other guys as we move forward. Now out in San Francisco, our boy Jalen Hurts. Man, I am just distraught over this one because Jalen Hurts is a guy I really liked last year. He's a guy I like this year, and now it looks like he's going to have an ACL tear. That's what's currently coming across. It has not been officially announced as of the recording of this video that he has an ACL tear, but that's what it's looking like. So Brandon Ayuk, he even has more potential for volume now. Deebo Samuel could be missing or at least limited to start the year. No Jalen Hurts. Brandon Ayuk is going to end up being the number one main target outside of George Kittle in that offense. Keep an eye on Trent Taylor. Jalen Hurts was somebody I really liked working out of the slot. If he's going to be off the field now and out, Trent Taylor is a guy that could step into the slot. He's got some Danny Amendola type feel to him. That's what I kind of feel like Trent Taylor is. He is a guy working in the slot, could be a really easy target for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then what about Jerick McKinnon? He's looking pretty good in training camp so far. Maybe they try to use him as a Swiss Army knife. Now that they're going to end up having an issue being down not one, but 2 wide receivers, maybe we see Jerick McKinnon splitting out wide a little bit often. Maybe you put like him, maybe you put him in the backfield with Mostert. A lot of different things you could do. So keep an eye on Jerick McKinnon as well. Gerald McCoy. Now, this is a defensive injury here, but he tears his quad, done for the season. But this could be an effect on the offense because Gerald McCoy was really going to be a huge member in the middle of that defensive line that was really going to help stop the run game. That's going to be, that's going to be a little bit difficult now. And keep in mind, this is a division that they're going to be playing in where they're going to have to face a Miles Sanders. Okay, they're going to have to face a Miles Sanders, at least 2 times a year. You've got Adrian Peterson in Washington, and then, of course, Saquon Barkley in New York. Those are some pretty good running backs that you're going to have to consistently try and stop. So with the Dallas Cowboys, is that going to be a hit to the run defense? If it is the Dallas defense going to have trouble getting off the field? If they do, if the opposing offenses are holding on to the ball, running it, controlling the clock, they're going to have to throw it a little bit more. So keep an eye on that. And if they do have to throw it more and more and more, is Zeke going to see some decreased volume? Is that going to end up happening? So that Gerald McCoy injury could really end up rippling through the effect of the entire team, not just the defense. Josh Oliver, a little known tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He goes down with a broken foot. Now, I don't expect it to be that big of an effect on the Jaguars passing game because the tight end position didn't really see it being utilized all that often. But keep in mind, Tyler Eifert is there. Tyler Eifert spent some time with Jay Gruden when he was in Cincinnati. So you know that they know each other very well. So maybe they try to get him onto the field a little bit more often. If he can stay healthy, maybe Tyler Eifert becomes the guy that, kind of like he was back in Cincinnati, very touchdown dependent, might not put together a ton of volume, but within the red zone could be a great target for Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew, again, I've talked about him. I don't really know if he's going to be that guy to push the ball down the field on a consistent basis. So Tyler Eifert, having him for some of those intermediate routes, that could end up help him out a little bit. So keep an eye on Tyler Eifert moving forward. But Josh Oliver definitely done for quite some time with a broken foot. A potential concussion for Nick Chubb. We absolutely love Nick Chubb here. Y'all know that. But he's dealing with a potential concussion. He was seen leaving the field with trainers, but he was alert. He was feeling fine, and he's still being evaluated as of right now. When we recorded this, there was no guarantee that he actually had a concussion. He could be back out on the field tomorrow. Basically, what happened is when he was running the football, he kind of got grabbed around the neck and pulled down. So maybe he's just got a little bit of whiplash. Maybe just something in his neck is bothering him. Maybe it doesn't end up being a concussion. Obviously, no concussion, the better, but we don't want any neck injuries either. So keep an eye on that. If you're doing any drafts right now, probably not skipping on Nick Chubb at this point, but it's something to monitor. If he does end up missing a few days here or there, then obviously Kareem Hunt, then he becomes a huge guy to grab later on in your draft. So those are some of the injury things that we've seen today. Again, you get out on the field, you get the pads on, that's going to tend to happen. Good news is that there's not going to be any preseason games that we have to worry about. But what is some other notable news around the NFL? Well, for the Broncos, Tim Patrick mentioned this on the live show last night. He's been seen running as the wide receiver 2 in that offense so far. With Tim Patrick, lots of wide receivers there. KJ Hamler has had some nice videos out of training camp so far. The talk is Drew Lock's been looking at Cortland Sutton quite a bit. Obviously, you have Jerry Jeudy. He looks really good. But just interesting to note that Tim Patrick has been seen on the field as the wide receiver too. Do they plan on trying to run some 4 wide receiver sets? The more wide receivers there are on the field, not just at one time, but overall, the less volume there going to be to go around. So maybe with Hamler and Jeudy, maybe those are a couple of guys that don't get on the field a whole lot right away, and they do a veteran like Tim Patrick a little bit more to start the season until those guys really get integrated into the offense and are feeling good about it. Drew Lock also in Broncos territory out in Denver. Apparently he's been interception happy, but I don't want anybody to worry about that at all. Okay? It's happened the last 2 off seasons with quarterbacks. Last year, it was Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was throwing so many interceptions during practice, during training camp, wasn't able to keep the ball in his players' hands, giving it to the defense. He ended up being just fine last year. 2 years ago, it was Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes apparently was throwing all kinds of interceptions, and people were worried that he was not going to be able to take over and produce Alex Smith-esque numbers. Well, he ended up going above and beyond that. So he was absolutely fine. So these interceptions in training camp, I don't want anybody to worry about it. This is the time for them to make those mistakes. They're trying to get on the same page as their wide receivers, so they're working on that timing a little bit, and that is going to be off right now. And then in Tennessee, Darrington Evans, he's having trouble holding on to the football right now, and he is really the only guy that is seen as any type of a threat to take away potential touches from Derrick Henry, and most of that is going to be in the passing game. So if Darrington Evans, they can't trust him. If he's not holding on to the football, if he's not producing, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, if Derrick Henry's getting passing game work, whoa, we are looking at top 3 running back potential, okay? So Darrington Evans is having some issues right now holding on to the football. That is something we have to continue to monitor because that could mean huge season for Derrick Henry. There you have the Headliner Nation. Just some of the updates from training camp today. We'll continue to do these things as we go. Anytime that there's a lot of substantial news we got to talk about, we'll do a video. If a big time player goes down, we'll do a video. A lot of breaking news for you to keep you updated on everything going on. So if you appreciate that content, hit that like button for me. As always, subscribe to the channel. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. Our draft guide is on sale right now. Head to thefantasyheadliners.com, $19.99 to get your draft guide to prepare for all of your fantasy football leagues. And then if you love the Fantasy Headliners and you want more content, head over to Patreon and consider subscribing over there for extra content as well. Have a great evening, Headliner Nation. I'll catch you all later. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a good one.